I started this a little bit late, but I will come back to that whole point we did before in a minute or two. All right, so here's the problem where we are creating the pathway around the rectangle, and it works out that x is 2, and then you put them back in and you get 12 and 13. 7a, just to me, this is the kind of thing that the Common Core asks because they want to bust chops and see if you know this tedious little point about how the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. They will not give you that formula on the regions. You have to know that. This is about the 5th or 6th time we've seen this. We just haven't seen it like daily. It's been kind of interspersed. So we want to make sure that we're able to follow along. It's the negative of negative 14, which is 14, divided by 2, which is 7. And then substitute the 7 back into the y equals for x squared, for x, but then square and so on, and I get negative 39. Any questions? That one should be pretty straightforward. All right, and now we get into this one here about an arrow being shot into the air. And again, they ask you to complete the square for this function. And boy, oh boy, is this ugly. This is just like a horrific question to ask. If the state asks this question on a Regents exam to you guys, I think that there might be some math teachers who go postal, like, you know, bringing Uzi into the state ed department and just start mowing the whole thing down. This is a sadistic question. Bottom line is you got to get to do completing the square. You got to get this all by itself, so I subtract the 2.5. Here's the negative 4.9, and it goes into both terms. You probably didn't even see that. Factor out the common factor in negative 4.9. I'm left with t squared plus 6t. And this is going to emphasize what we were talking about before. To make t squared plus 6t complete the square, I got to do half of 6, which is 9. But what a lot of people forget to do is multiply that 9 by the common factor that applies to everything on that side. So over here, I do 9 times negative 4.9, and I add negative 2.5. That's all going to come out to negative 46.6. I divide by, I didn't even bother doing the division. I don't care what it works out to. I just left the whole thing under a radical. It's going to be an ugly decimal. You just leave it under the radical. That's fine. There's not a problem. The plus or minus step, the subtract the 3 step. Okay? So this is a horrifically ugly question. And this question I got this question from a state module. Now, I do not believe that the state will ask a question like this, but I didn't want to go into the test without showing you that sometimes there's some really ugly numbers involved, and you just keep working the ugly numbers out, okay? All right, as far as the max height of the arrow goes, we just plug it into the calculator and graph it. Works out to 36.6, okay? And that, or is it 46.6 or 36.6? 46.6, okay. And then the maximum height occurs at 3 seconds. All you got to do is put that in the calculator and crank it out. I am sure that you are very good at that. Now, number 8, sketch a quick graph. Now, these are what we call parent functions. They're the generic form of something cubed, of something squared, of something square-rooted. And you need to learn to recognize these functions. This is y equals x squared. It looks like this. This is y equals x cubed. It looks like this. If you ever forget what they look like, you could just type them into your graphing calculator and get a view, okay? And then this is y equals the square root of x. It looks like it's also down here. This is part of y equals x cubed. It's not part of y equals square root of x. All right, so you should be able to recognize all of those functions. Okay, so now we're going to go to today's sheet. And I have some concerns about whether or not we have enough time to do it and go over it and get done with the lesson. So on a rare occasion today, we're actually going to save the do it for last and get started on this. So everybody get out your graphing calculator. Go to y equals. And what we want to do is clear out the graphing section, and we're going to go through and do what I would call a parent function, and then 2 functions based on that parent function, and look for trends to reinforce what we've been going over the last few days. So on your paper, I think the first one is y equals x, or f of x equals x, g of x is x plus 5, and h of x is x minus 6. So let's put all of those into the graphing calculator and let's graph. Okay, enter all of those into your calculator. Okay, so now I'm going to hit graph. Shh, come on. As I hit graph, what I start to notice is a couple of different things. First off, the line that runs down the middle is the parent function line. God bless. It is the line y equals x. Okay. And we call it the parent function because nothing is being done to it. Can you guys scooch? This is y equals x, the parent function. Now here's your second one here, which I'll do in blue. And this is the same graph, just moved up 5 places. And where do you think that 5 comes from? The plus 5 at the end. And likewise, this minus 6 is moved what? Down 6 places. So the other day we started learning about vertical and horizontal shift. So when I see y equals x, God bless, plus or minus this k, what do we call that k thing? Vertical shift, and we even spell it in a funny way to emphasize the idea of the k meaning vertical shift. Any questions? Good. Now, there's one more to graph. There's actually 2 more to graphs. Do y equals x squared plus whatever, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Okay, so the first thing, what do you notice about these formulas or these functions that are given?
There's no horizontal shift.
Yeah, there's no horizontal shift. We've talked about that the last few days. But the plus 3 and the minus 7 should represent what, according to what we've been learning? Should represent vertical shift. So if the parent function, y equals x squared, is the standard parabola, and we just went over that from the homework, x squared plus 3 should take that same exact parabola and do what to it? Move it how? Up 3. What should the next one do? Down 7. So let's go to graph and see what we get. There's y equals x squared. Then I move it up 3, and then I move it down 7. So yes, that y-intercept, that number at the end, the 3, the negative 7, even on the previous one, like when we did y equals x plus 5, that's called the y-intercept. It's where it touches the y-axis, and its function is vertical shift. It moves it up, it moves it down when we write it in such a form. Does that make sense? Okay, now let's go to the next one. But to remind you about how to do absolute value, you want to go to math number, and then absolute value will be right there. On your calculator, there's a math button just underneath the green one. And then go across to number. You see it, NUM. And then you'll see absolute value is the first thing, and then you can hit that, and the absolute value will come up.
Of what?
Watch. Ready?
No, I pressed the wrong.
Math. Go across to number, and then the first one is absolute value. So hit enter, and then you can put in your x. Okay? Now you want to do the same thing for the next 2 functions. And it's very important for you to notice that this time the additions and subtractions are inside that absolute value symbol. Mine shows the lines, yours writes ABS, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter.
Mine has the lines.
Oh, it's x minus 3, right?
What?
Yeah, okay.
No, x plus 2, x minus 1.
No.
Oh, you got it backwards.
Oh, so this should be plus 3?
No, 2 is x plus 3 and and
Yeah.
3 is x minus.
All right, so I'll just make this one plus 3, and I'll make minus 4 up top.
No.
Exactly.
Asking doesn't matter. Did you know something?
That looks so tedious.
Okay, so I'm going to put the graphs in. And this time, you could tell right away, one of the things you should notice right away is that absolute value are like parentheses. They're like a grouping symbol of some sort. And it's no longer going to be a vertical shift, sorry. It's going to end up being a horizontal shift. So this is this one, and this is this one. So you'll notice that when it was x minus 4, it slid 4 units to the right, and when it was positive 3, it what?
Move 3 to the left.
Move 3 to the left. And this is what we have worked on the other day. Now, the other day, we said y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. What did that h stand for? Horizontal shift. And not only was it horizontal shift, but what did we have to remember was particularly important about that horizontal shift? It's what? Hey,
Oh, it's reversed.
it's reversed. It's opposite. In fact, wasn't that a really important thing on the beginning quiz from today?
Yeah.
Right, you had to recognize that. So we've actually been working with that, and then K is vertical shift, which was not on today's quiz, but we just did on some previous questions. Well, you know what? That is a far-reaching concept. It's not limited to a parabola. It also works in absolute value. And as you're going to see, it'll work with square root functions, it'll work with cube functions, it'll work with lots of different things. So H is horizontal shift anytime it's in grouping symbols. And K, when it's separated from grouping symbols, is always going to be vertical shift. Are we good? Right? Okay. So now, let's take these ideas and let's use your sheet and let's start answering the 3 general questions based on each of these things. So, the red graph is what we call the parent function. It's the original graph. And you should be to the point where you have seen this enough that you can instantly recognize it. What is the red graph here going to be? Y equals what?
X squared.
X squared, good. Now, it has been transformed to the blue graph. And I have to ask, what happened that the red graph became the blue graph?
Y equals.
I don't want the equation yet. What happened?
It moved 4 places.
It was moved 4 to the right. Now, when we move, that is a translation. That is a slide, okay? So we're doing a translation, a slide 4 units to the right. Now let's go for the equation. Y equals what?
X squared plus 4.
Minus
No,
X
x
minus
minus 4 squared. It has to be in the package for horizontal shift. Agree with me on that? Right, is everybody with me? Right, can I see a little nod of the head? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Very good, amen, amen. All right, good. So we're good here. Let's take a look now at the next function. Okay, so the red function is the parent function. Now, does anybody recognize that parent function? Okay. We did it a
Oh,
little
yeah.
earlier. Go ahead.
It was the one, the absolute value.
Absolute value. Look, if I have a gentle u, that's a parent function of a parabola, y equals x squared. If I have a v, that's y equals absolute x. Okay? So anytime you see a v, you start thinking in terms of absolute value. So my parent function is y equals absolute x. Now, as far as what the second function is going to be, this one is pretty new because we have both horizontal and vertical shift. So what do you think the equation will be here? Absolute value symbol, x plus 2, good, and then minus 3. Right, because look, we've slid 2 units left, so I have to reverse it here. And then I've gone down 3, and on the vertical, I don't reverse it. Only reverse it if it's in the grouping symbol, the thing that puts it with the x, okay? Any other questions about this one? All right, now let's take a look at the next graph, and we did this graph in class yesterday.
It was like,
Does anybody remember this graph?
yes.
What is it?
Alright,
Square root of x, good. So the parent function, the guy that everything's based on, is y equals the square root of x. Now, that parent function has been translated. It has been moved, it's slid. Now, how did it get moved? Up. Up how many?
1, 2,
Six.
3,
Five.
4.
5. I think it's 5. I think this is supposed to go through down to 0 and that down to 0. They
Alright,
just
so
didn't quite
five.
put it. So it went up 5. So this will be, now is this vertical or horizontal shift?
Vertical.
Vertical. So it's y equals square root of x plus 5. Okay? Are you getting the idea that this is pretty easy to recognize?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next one.
Oh.
Okay, so what's the parent function here in red? Y equals absolute x. Good. Now, let's let the blue one stay g of x. But I'm going to change the h of x to green. Just for teaching purposes, I think you'll see it a little bit easier. So let's do h of x first because I happen to be in green. H of x is going to equal what? Do I have horizontal shift?
No.
No, so I don't have to put anything inside the symbol. Do I have vertical shift?
Yeah, down.
Yes. It goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's absolute x minus 4. Good. Blue guy. G of x equals, do I have any horizontal shift?
No.
No, so I could just leave it absolute x. Now, do I have any vertical shift?
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually looks like 2 point something, but let's just call it 3 so that we can get it done and make it easy. Okay? Any questions?
No.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is the beauty. It applies to everything. Now, the red is my parent function. The blue will be my g of x function. And my green will be the h of x function. Now, what is the parent function? Do you remember this from yesterday? Cube root. X cubed goes straight up and down like this. The cube root goes sideways. So it's y equals the cube root of x. That's my parent function. Now we're going to ask, do I do any horizontal and or vertical movements? So now let's look at g of x, which is the blue one. Do I have any horizontal shift? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
So it's cube root x again. Do I have any vertical shift?
Yes.
Yes, it's gone up 1 unit. It went from the origin to 1, so it would be plus 1. Okay? Now let's take a look at the green one, h of x. Is there any horizontal shift?
Yes.
Yes. Which direction? Left or right?
Left.
Going to the left, that's the negative direction, so I have to switch the sign. So it's, right, it's going to be cube root x plus, now how many
Five.
places?
5.
5. Is there any vertical shift?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Look at just this point here and just that point. Has it gone up or down?
No.
No. If this went up to here and for argument's sake went like this, then there would be vertical shift. Okay? So it's just h of x is the cube root of x plus 5. Okay?
Yep.
So you're supposed to understand horizontal shift, group, vertical shift, in and by itself, parent functions. Y equals x squared, y equals x cubed, y equals cube root of x, y equals square root of x, y equals absolute x, y equals x. These are basic functions that we move around. We are going to do 2 or 3 days worth of work that involve this horizontal and vertical movement, okay? We've actually started it before now. And today kind of just put it all together. If you did not get 100 on your quiz yesterday, I hope that by today's lesson, plus going over that quiz a little bit, it really makes a lot of sense to you about when it put that in parentheses, it said x minus 3, you should have gone 3 units to the right to get to 5 negative 1. Okay? You want me to see it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have one too. I did mine with Mrs.
check the
Davis,
answers
my
down.
Okay.
brother's math
I mean,
teacher.
extra help.
Okay. Hold it. Stay right here. I'll give it to you there.
Do we have to wait till everyone takes it to get back though?
Yeah, I gotta wait till everybody takes it.
Well, I know my grades. So
thorough.
Can I
Yep.
come tomorrow morning?
Yes, I expect you to come tomorrow morning. Anna, same with you.
That's the
Is
only
our
time.
grade going to be on the parent portal?
It'll be on the parent portal in 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good one, guys. Hasta la vista. Vaya con Dios. Toodaloo. Ta-ta. You got 92.
Take it at lunch tomorrow, and if I don't finish it, can I come to the library?
No, you can't come to the library because I won't be there. It's gotta be done by tomorrow. So come in tomorrow morning, start it, and if you don't finish it, you can
So
finish
you
it
won't be
tomorrow.
at the library tomorrow?
I will not. Tomorrow's
Maria
Thursday. I'm there on
Bettini and
Tuesday.
Cameron Ewer to the guidance office, please. Maria Bettini, Cameron Ewer.
70, 72. One of those two. You and John were pretty close to each other. No, John, you were 66. Anthony, you were 70. Guys, listen, what's killing you? Factoring. I think one of you missed 4 and the other one missed 5 on the first page. Get the factoring down pat, the grade goes up with it.
Noah Smith, please come to the main office. Noah Smith, please come to the main office.
Attention teachers, this is a hall sweep. Please lock your doors immediately. All students who have been caught up in the sweep, please report to the main lobby immediately. This does not include any student who is on an elevator pass or a student who may be accompanying that student. Please report to the main office, to the main lobby immediately if you have been caught in the hall sweep. Thank you.